What is up, guys? So I've got my Burning Abyss deck profile for you here today. This deck never seems to die. I mean, every format is just always there, lurking at the edges. We're ready for someone to top. I'm sure we can see Thomas Rose somehow top with this deck again. But yeah, Burning Abyss is such a fun deck to play. This is more of a control style. I do have a couple more Burning Abyss profiles coming out soon. One with Phantom Knights and one that's just general kind of combo spam like before. Burning Abyss is a really good deck, guys, and I definitely recommend picking it up just because it really will teach you about kind of resource management, and there's a lot of flexibility in deck building. So this is a good deck to kind of learn how to deck build effectively and just learning kind of good practices for making sure that you're always going to be stacked against the meta even when playing Rogue. But anyway, let's get into that deck profile. So I have our Burning Abyss. I'll go into my Burning Abyss cards first. So I'm going to be playing one Barbar. Barbar is the Burning Abyss that burns monsters by banishing burns your opponent by banishing Burning Abyss cards from your graveyard. We have Seer, which special summons a Burning Abyss monster from your graveyard. Libich, which special summons a Burning Abyss level 3 Dark Fiend from your hand. We have Alich, which negates a monster on field. Farfa, which banishes a monster till the end phase. Graph, which special summons a Burning Abyss monster from your deck. And Scum, which adds a Burning Abyss or level 3 Fiend monster to your hand in the end phase. So one of the things about Burning Abyss and Burning Abyss decks in general is that we only ever really play one of each because you don't really want to see more than one in your hand. It's not worth it, and because they are very xenophobic. If you have another card that's not Burning Abyss, they just pop themselves. So you don't actually play that many of the main deck Burning Abysses, and I have these ratios just because I like them. I think Farfa probably could go up to 3 because he is really nice to see, and he is one of your main interruptions. Scum as well could go up to 3. So you could, for example, just play like 3 Farfa, 3 Scum, Seer and Graph, and you'll be fine. But I do like the ability to burn my opponent in time. I really like that with Barbar. I really like the negate of a Lich as well. It does come up sometimes. So that's why I do play those as well. But those are my Burning Abyss main deck monsters. Moving on from that, we play 2 Tour Guide of the Underworld. She's a really good card. We're so happy to have her back at 2. I mean, if we could get her back to 3, I think that would be perfect for the deck because she is one of your really strong starters, and she's always going to be what you're adding off Scum if you can, just because she's an instant Dante, which is the monster for your deck, the best monster in your deck. Then on top of that, we have 3 Fiendish Rhino Warriors. Fiendish Rhino Warrior, which is going to tutor any Fiend monster from your deck to your graveyard. That's an amazing effect to have in the first place and just going to do so much for you. We then play one of all the good dangers. So we play 1 Shusanoko, 1 Jackalope, and 1 Nessie. These are the good dangers. That's why we play them, simple as. Then moving on from that, we're going to play some Phantom Knight cards as well. So there's new Phantom Knight cards coming out soon, and when they do come out, I'm definitely going to have a new profile because they go so well with Burning Abyss. But for now, we just play 1 Cloak and 2 Boots, and really, you're rarely going to bring them out. If you do bring them out, it's for your XE sum, but they're more for getting those Fog Blades to your hand because Fog Blade is such a unique piece of interruption that people don't respect anymore. You can use Fog Blade to really interrupt and slow down your opponent. What's particularly nice about Fog Blade is that the monster that is negated by Fog Blade can't be targeted for attacks. So, for example, you can even Fog Blade your own monster if you know they have no removal, and now they can't target you from attacks. They can't even beat over your monster to win the game, which is great. So Fog Blade is a really nice card to have. And then also, when you banish it from the grave, it can special summon a Phantom Knight monster, which is wonderful. So yeah, we really like the Phantom Knights in this deck. They just do a lot. Then we have Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Definitely going to play 3 of those. All of the hand traps are quite good in Burning Abyss, again, because they're all level 3, which is wonderful. We like level 3 monsters in this because it's kind of like a rank 3 spam deck. But anyway, yeah, so that's why we play 3 Ash Blossom. We can play Ghost Ogre as well. Ghost Ogre is definitely a lot better this format. Moving on from that, we have 3 Imperm, very strong, going to deal with your S0s, going to deal with your Adamantipated decks, and it can't be Called by the Grave, can't be Gamada, which is also really wonderful. We also play 3 Paleozoic Dynamiscus. So Dynamiscus is nice. One thing I really like about Dynamiscus is that if it doesn't get its effects, you don't have to discard a card. So it's nice because it allows you to discard. So for example, you have a Farfa in hand, that's 2 banished cards. But if you don't get that effect, like if they dodge the effect or something, you're not discarding, you're not losing anything for it. So Dynamiscus is a really nice card to have. And it also kind of slows down your opponent because a lot of the time you're going to activate another trap, then bring Dynamiscus back from the grave. And now they have to attack over 2 monsters instead of just 1, which is great. We play 3 Fiend Griefing. This card is amazing. It shuts down decks in such a unique way that you wouldn't really expect. But yeah, against Adamantipated, you can shuffle their Block Dragon back into their deck. Now they're not going to be able to keep looping him. Against Eldritch, You can shuffle that Golden Lord back into the deck. Now they can't bring him out of the graveyard. I mean, this card is great against Salamangreat. You can shuffle the Gazelle back into the deck so they can't bring it back, or you can shuffle the Baylink so they can't protect a monster on field. This is a really, really good card, and then it allows you to send a Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard. So you can send a Farfa, like I said before, and then suddenly you've nuked their board, you've banished a card off their field, and you've slowed down their graveyard plays. This is such a good card. I really like Fiend Griefing, and I definitely would keep this at 3 because there's a rarely a situation where I don't want to use it. Moving on, we have Karma Cut. Karma Cut is quite a nice card, obviously banishing a card, and what's particularly strong about that, again, against decks like Eldritch and Adamantipator, the 2 best decks this format, that's why I keep going on about them, it's really, really good because you can banish, for example, all the Block Dragons in the graveyard and they're screwed, banish all their Golden Lords from the graveyard and they're screwed. Late in the game, Karma Cut does a huge amount and can win games by itself. We then play 3 Trap Trick, because we play so many traps and because we want to see all the traps, and it also means that you can kind of get whatever you need in whatever situation you need it. So Trap Check, a really good card, and then the 3 Fog Blade, as I said before, because it is quite a useful negate. Galaxy Cyclone is another really good card for the main deck in this as well. I just happen to not be playing it in this variant because I have a lot of different ways of dealing with back row already in my main deck. But moving on to my extra deck. So in my extra deck, I have Cerberus to start off with. Cerberus is a really, really good monster in this, especially because you don't have a lot of ways of dealing with high attack threats. So especially in game 1, in games 2 and 3 it's a lot easier, but games 1 you don't. So Cerberus is nice for dealing with those in the main monster zone. We have a Dagda. Dagda is really just a generic link 2 when you're link climbing. This can actually be anything. You could play an artifact package. I don't personally like it in this deck anyway, but you could play it if you wanted to. We have 1 IP Masquerena because she is very good to go into. We like discarding and then linking up into our Unicorn, our Phoenix, or our Cerberus on your opponent's turn is going to be huge. Then we play 1 Virgil and 1 Dante. These are for summoning off Beatrice. You won't usually go into these, but Virgil I really, really like just because what he allows you to do is shuffle a card your opponent controls or in the graveyard into the deck for free. You can actually summon him normally. For example, if you did something like get a Burning Abyss on field or get any level 3 on field plus your Ice Blossom, you can summon him, but rarely you're going to do that. You're almost always going to do it with Beatrice, but it's a nice effect to have, so we definitely like having Virgil there. And then we have Dante, which basically allows you to send a card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard if this card is sent to the graveyard by opponent's card effect, and it allows you to send a Burning Abyss card from your hand to the graveyard to draw a card. So if you have a Farfa, again, like I said, have a Farfa, send a Farfa, draw a card, and then you get to banish. Levier is nice because you are very often going to have banished cards that you can just kind of special summon and then recycle, especially with your Phantom Knights, for example. You can special summon them, put them back in the graveyard, and then use them again, which is lovely. Then we have our link package. So we have our Access Code Tool card for pushing the game, Borrow Sword again for pushing the game, and Nightmaring Unicorn. Then we have Cherubini. Cherubini is not an amazing card for this variant, just because your focus isn't these heavy combos. What you are really trying to do is grind out your opponent slowly and make it hard for them to play the game. Any play they do, you're going to interrupt and slow them down because you have a lot of value plays. All of your cards are basically 2 cards because they have an effect on the hand and then they do another effect on the grave. So Cherubini is not amazing, but it's still okay. It's worth playing just at 1 for those rare occasions where you want to dump a graph so that you can get to your Dante or something. But if you can make Cherubini, you can make Dante. So most of the time, I'll just make 1 or 2 Dantes instead of making Cherubini. Then we play 3 Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. This is such a busted card. I mean, back in the day, I remember how good it was, and even now, its effects seem so unassuming, but it just does a lot. So obviously, we have that mill 3, and almost every card in our deck likes being in the graveyard. So that's going to be really, really, really strong. And then on top of that, if this is sent to the graveyard, target a Burning Abyss card in your graveyard, accept this card, and add it to your hand. Then we're going to be playing 1 Beatrice as well because she's just nice to have, and she can dump a card from your graveyard from your deck to your graveyard during your opponent's turn, which is going to be very useful. And then when she dies, she's going to bring out one of your Burning Abyss cards. I've just realized now this guy's a rockstar. I don't actually know why. I feel like I need to find out why this guy's a rockstar. For some reason, that seems very random. Another card that I don't have in my main deck, but I do think is worth playing, it's not a terrible card, I just happen to not be playing it in this variant, is Absolute King Backjack. You're doing a lot of milling and you're playing a lot of traps, so Backjack works really well just because he generates 3 pluses, and there's really no reason not to. I would say that a good card to remove for Backjack would probably be something like Cloak. You could remove 1 Cloak and 1 Fog Blade for the Backjack for 2 more Backjacks in the deck, but that's another variant for your main deck. Moving on to the extra. So Like I said before, one of the weaknesses of this deck is dealing with these kind of high attack threats, and so this is why I have this big kaiju package in my extra deck. If they have a threat that I don't think I can easily get over, and I can't, and then my opponent isn't allowing me to kind of generate enough advantage to link climb, these kaijus come in very, very nicely to just kind of get rid of threats like that. Same with free tactical talents, which is another nice card to have in your extra deck. I really, really like this card, and I think it's doing a lot. It's underrated at the moment, so it's definitely worth picking up because it's not going to get reprinted anytime soon. Moving on from that, we play 3 Nibiru because it destroys a lot of decks, and 3 Dark Ruler because, again, it just will cover a huge amount of decks. Stuff like Adamantipator, they'll have a huge board of cards that you can't do anything. Hit a Dark Ruler, no more on them, and suddenly they're screwed. So, guys, that is my Burning Abyss deck.